So this is part two of how to stop playing their game and start winning yours. So we're going to talk about what we teach, who this is for, what we don't teach, and a couple other things that you need to know. So this isn't a place for fantasy. This is a place for remedy, real, lawful, earned through responsibility remedy. If you're looking for shortcuts, if you're looking for conspiracy theories, magical paperwork, then this isn't for you. But if you want to know how to take lawful control over your life, contracts, and claims, let's talk about what we actually teach and what we don't. We teach you how to get your way in a transaction, a contract, or a matter lawfully through private administrative processes. There's a lot more that we teach, but that is a good start. That means learning how to rebut presumptions. It means standing on the truth, controlling your contracts, navigating through jurisdiction with eyes wide open. So who is this for? Well, if you're looking for easy answers, quick fixes, or a way to escape life, this isn't for you. The things we teach do make life easier, but that's not the purpose. But if you're ready to become the author of your agreements and learn how to stand on truth with honor, then you're in the right place. What we don't teach are internet myths, loopholes, although some loopholes can be good. There are such things as loopholes. We don't teach you to just look for loopholes, though. And we don't teach what I call sovereign cosplay. There's a whole world of nonsense out there. YouTube videos that are full of buzzwords and paperwork and packs with zero foundation. People saying, come and we'll, $500, we'll teach you how to correct your status. Well, what does that do for you, though? What is your status? People yelling, I don't consent, or I'm a living man, or I'm a living woman, while they're sitting there in dishonor. That's not what we do. The court already knows that you're a living, breathing man or woman. We don't tell you to run from the system. We teach you how to engage with it lawfully and powerfully. We don't teach magical phrases. We teach lawful process. We don't chase secret access codes or hidden trust funds. We teach you how the system actually works in law, in commerce, and in equity. So this isn't pretend. It isn't cosplay. It's actually the opposite. It's getting back to truth. It's contracting. It's not about pretending that you're a king. It's learning to behave like one in our system with authority and discipline and accountability. Kings ask questions to find solutions. That's why when someone does that, it's called acting as a king, right? We don't promise you safety, all right? Running doesn't change anything. Hiding doesn't fix contracts. Ignoring mail, refusing to speak, claiming to be outside the system while you're running around out there in the system without understanding jurisdiction, that's not remedy. That's the definition of risk. It's what you've been doing. So this isn't a security blanket. There's no promise that no one will challenge you. There's no guarantees that you won't be tested. In fact, you probably will be tested, but you're already being tested, and you're probably losing those tests. Because being lawful doesn't mean you're going to be left alone. It means you'll know how to respond when the world comes knocking on your door, often literally. Safety is a false god in our realm, in this system. Most people chase safety at the cost of their liberty. What we offer instead is stability, clarity. You need peace that comes from competence. And that's the only kind of protection that holds up when pressure comes. This system is not going away. You can't change it. You could get involved in politics if you like, but tomorrow, if all government were gone, tomorrow you would want to contract. It is an integral part of this existence. But once you understand it, once you really understand it, you can engage in it on your terms. So we teach you how to navigate offers and claims with precision. We teach you how to stay in honor while asserting your position and your authority, and how to contract knowingly, not by default or by assumption or presumption. It's not about disappearing, and it's most certainly not about appearing. It's about reappearing in full authority, okay? Or showing up in full authority. We prepare you for standing. Now, there's a thing we call the private administrative process, and the principles that we teach don't just offer you peace of mind. They offer real, trackable financial savings. So here's how this work translates into money saved, often in the tune of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes more. So first off, you stop paying what you don't owe. Okay. Most people pay debts, fines, fees, and taxes that they never lawfully agreed to because they don't know how to rebut a presumption. Now, I don't think that you should not pay your taxes. I think if you believe you have a tax, you should pay that tax. And if you don't pay that tax, I think you should be held liable to it. But what's a lawful tax? There are improper tax assessments. There are unlawful third-party debt collectors, and they do unlawful and illegal things. There are fines and fees from administrative agencies like the DMV and zoning boards and stuff like that that are not lawful. And when you respond with lawful notices and conditional acceptances, knowing how to stand on that stuff, you shift the burden and expose their lack of a valid claim because they have to have a valid claim. Number two, you prevent court battles. Average attorney is what, $250 to $500 an hour? Full case can cost you $10,000, $30,000 or more. Even when you win, it can cost you that. The private administrative remedy resolves the matter before it becomes a lawsuit, before it reaches court, and without needing to hire a lawyer. All right. They trick you into thinking that you need attorneys because you were brought up in probably a public school system where you were taught to be a debtor. Number three, you stop defaulting because you start responding lawfully. Most people lose by simply not responding. We all know that if two baseball teams meet on a Saturday to play a game and one team doesn't show up, by default, the one that does show up wins. Unfortunately, when people show up, often they respond incorrectly. These defaults lead to garnishments, repossessions, property liens, asset seizures. We teach you how to respond within time limits and respond with lawful rebuttals, and how to keep yourself out of dishonor, to switch yourself from the position of debtor to creditor. Okay, those savings can equal your entire bank account, your wages, your property. Number four, you avoid penalties and interest from agencies and collections. Okay, every month that you don't resolve a matter is just going to cost you more. Handling things at an administrative level, you can stop it before it grows. Okay, it's the deeper you get into a hole, the harder it is to climb out. Okay, oftentimes our students come into our classes and they're already in a hole with something, and it's very difficult to get out of that something. But once you can stop the hole before it gets dug too deep, it becomes much easier. Number five, you stop contracting blindly. That means fewer financial traps. So how many people sign credit agreements that they don't read? How many people accept licenses and don't know the terms and conditions? How many people enter into business partnerships without good clarity of what they're doing? We enter into contracts all day, every day. It's incessant. If somebody walks up to you and says, "Hey, would you like to go to lunch?" That's a contract. The problem starts when you don't get clarity on the terms and conditions of the contract because you've never been taught the elements of a contract or how to flesh a contract out. You need to know a contract is not what is written on a piece of paper. A contract is what the agreement is between the parties. The written contract, what's on a piece of paper, that's the memorial of the contract at the time that it was signed. It could change immediately. It can change before the ink dries. If we had to update written contracts before we could change them, the commerce would stop. Contracts have to be fluid. They have to be fluid, or otherwise the whole system would grind to a halt. Okay. So knowing how to contract and knowing what a contract is means that you will know how to protect yourself. You can keep your assets, your time, and your peace. Number six, you stop paying for fixed solutions. I myself have spent thousands of dollars on fixed solutions. You don't want any more junk debt elimination programs. No more credit repair scams. No more sovereign paperwork packs that just don't work, or worse, get you in trouble. You can save hundreds of thousands of dollars plus the time that you never get back, right? The bottom line is if you've ever lost money to things you don't know, court fees, debt collectors, legal missteps, you've already paid for your education. You just didn't get it. Now you have a chance to stop this leak. You have a chance to stand in truth and to keep more of what you earn. More of your labor goes in your interest. Okay. So can this stuff work to make you money? Well, absolutely. It absolutely can. So here's how this body of knowledge doesn't just save you money. It can be a source of income, of empowerment, lawful enterprise for people who actually stand in it and steward it correctly. Now, how can pressing a claim, which is what you're actually doing, pressing a claim, turn into lawful income? Well, first off, every violation is an offer, and most people miss these all the time. Okay. I would tell you that if you work for a large corporation, you probably have some violation of law done to that corporation at least once a week against you. probably more actually. The second someone trespasses on your rights or breaches a contract or fails to lawfully perform, you're looking at a form of commercial injury. Now, most people just complain about it, right? Most people just argue emotionally. Most people just post online about the wrong that was done to them, right? But we recognize that it's an offer. We build an administrative record and we press the claim. For example, it's not very difficult to get $1,000 for a telemarketer call. Anytime telemarketers call you, they're usually violating the Telephone Consumer Protection Act or the TCPA. You can get up to $1,000 for every one of those calls. You just have to learn how to do it. One student issued a note of default and opportunity to cure, followed by a certificate of dishonor, and it got $1,000 settlement for a phone call. You can do it with one letter. I've seen people do it with just a phone call. So this is how you can turn unlawful acts against you into accountability and income. I have a friend who went into Walmart and they refused to cash his check without putting a Social Security number on it. Several years ago, I don't know what their policies are now, but they demanded a Social Security number, and so did several of the people that he escalated to in the store. And so, even though they had no lawful authority or legal requirement to make that a condition of their performance to cash the check. So, he wrote a letter. He got a call the next day. He went backwards and forth with the attorney. They paid him out a quick $1,500 just to go away. What most people do. Most people just, oh, I can't cash my check here without giving a Social Security number. I'll give my Social Security number, or I'll just walk away. How many claims have you walked away from? You can be walking away from tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But most of the time, when people have a claim, what do they do? What do they have to do in order to press it? They have to go get an attorney. You're going to pay $5,000 to get $1,000 back? That makes no sense. You're $4,000 in the hole at that point, right? So there's other claim opportunities that you can monetize. Refusal of service without due process, unlawful garnishments and liens, mishandling of your medical information, HIPAA violations, auto repossession, towing without notice, denial of parental rights without a valid court order, identity misuse tied to the name, people who are using the name illegally when they don't have a security interest, a valid security interest, debt collectors who are operating without validation or stepping outside of the law. Every one of those can be pressed administratively, and a lot of times, many times before court is even necessary. But most people don't ever get paid because they don't know how to give lawful notice. They don't know how to establish terms of engagement. This is starting to sound a little bit like battle. They don't know how to document default, dishonor, and liability. They don't know how to convert an injury into a claim. And usually they just walk away. But you will. That's what makes this work possible. You'll know what to do. Pressing a claim isn't suing. Suing is what debtors do. What we do is self-governing. You're not suing people. You're not playing victim. Okay. You're getting a claim ratified. You're getting a claim validated in the private and then ratifying it in the public. That doesn't require arguing. In fact, arguing is your worst enemy. So the way it works is you just say, here's my claim. You can rebut it, cure it, or default on it. And that's commerce. That's law. And that can be income. Number two, you can become a very rare, trusted source of knowledge. Most people do not understand contract law. 1 in a million. Fewer understand the name game. There is a thing called the name game. That's what you'll learn to call it. That's what we call it. And almost no one knows how to explain it clearly and responsibly. You've been using your name illegally since you've entered into this system. But when you know what you're doing, you will attract people to you once you learn how the system works. They'll need help with letters, responses, notices, questions from government officials. They'll need insight on how to avoid or resolve legal conflicts and financial conflicts. They'll come to you for guidance on what not to sign or how to deal with creditors and various agencies. That's value, and value is always monetizable, whether it's through one-on-one consults, courses, coaching, pressing a claim, or just saving you money. You now have what people need. So you can charge for paperwork assistance and contract navigation. You can help people draft conditional acceptances and assist with affidavits, notices, and rebuttals. Once you've mastered these private processes, you can guide them through the proper use of the contracting principles, the UCC, state codes, federal laws. Even just one well-done private administrative process can be worth thousands to someone avoiding a judgment or seizure or garnishment, right? You get paid for helping them lawfully protect what's theirs. Number three, you can teach it ethically, legally, profitably. People are starving for truth in our system. And now that AI has come along, even though AI is a very powerful tool, people are starving for real stuff. That's why I don't do lots of glitz and glamour with my videos. People need real. They're starving for clarity. Once you've internalized this stuff, you can build yourself a course. You can launch a private membership or a coaching community. You can offer workshops online or in person. You can write a book, a guide, start a Substack. You can make money by teaching people truth. We live in a very inverted world, and people fall for myths constantly. Okay. Number four, you can lawfully restructure your own business or your own income stream. Once you understand how to operate in the private, because there's two different jurisdictions, there's unlimited jurisdictions, but the main ones we operate in are the public and the private. The public can't recognize the private jurisdiction, but you can learn to stay in the private. Okay, that's where your power comes from. You can learn how to operate in the private. You can learn how to use trust or private membership associations correctly, PMAs. Avoid unnecessary licensure or overreach, and control your name without others leaning it up as a security interest. You need to learn how to use your name lawfully. You can restructure your affairs in a way that preserves your wealth, minimizes tax exposure lawfully, protect your income streams from seizure or liability, and contract from a position of authority, not a position of obligation. You kind of become a magnet. Number five, you become a magnet for private referrals. People talk when someone helps them shut down a bogus claim, or avoids a $15,000 or $20,000 judgment, or keeps their home or their business or their income intact. You need to learn to stand in court with a clean administrative record and walk out without a loss. When that happens, you don't chase clients, they come to you. The bottom line is you're not just learning law, you're learning value creation. And when you solve lawful problems for people, money follows. Money follows value. That's about it for this one. I think we've gone on long enough. Tune back in for video number 3 of how to stop playing their game and start winning yours.